boarded and carried the ship just as the morning star appeared, for which reason he gave her that name. In the engagement the owner's son was killed, who made the voyage out of curiosity only. The ship being taken, 7 guns were fired, which was the signal, and the sloop came down and lay alongside the ship. The captain told him he supposed he only wanted his liquor, but Lewis made answer he wanted his ship, and accordingly hoisted all his ammunition and provision into her. When the Frenchman saw they would have his ship, he told her trim, and Lewis gave him the sloop, and accepting what he took for provision, all the fish he had made. Several of the French took on with him, who with others, English and French, had by force or voluntarily made him up 200 men. From Newfoundland he steered for the coast of Guinea, where he took a great many ships, English, Dutch, and Portuguese. Among these ships was one belonging to Carolina, commanded by Captain Smith. While he was in chase of this vessel a circumstance occurred, which made his men believe he dealt with the devil. His fore and maintop mast being carried away, he, Lewis, running up the shrouds to the maintop, tore off a handful of hair, and throwing it into the air, used this expression, "Good devil, take this till I come." And it was observed that he came afterwards faster up with the chase than before the loss of his topmasts. Smith being taken, Lewis used him very civilly, and gave him as much or more in value than he took from him, and let him go, saying he would come to Carolina when he had made money on the coast, and would rely on his friendship. They kept some time on the coast, when they quarrelled among themselves, the French and English, of which the former were more numerous, and they resolved to part. The French therefore chose a large sloop newly taken, thinking the ship's bottom, which was not sheathed, damaged by the worms. According to this agreement they took on board what ammunition and provision they thought fit out of the ship, and put off, choosing one Labarre captain. As it blew hard and the decks were encumbered, they came to an anchor under the coast, to stow away their ammunition, goods, etc. Lewis told his men they were a parcel of rogues, and he would make them refund. Accordingly he run alongside, his guns being all loaded and new primed, and ordered him to cut away his mast, or he would sink him. Labarre was obliged to obey. Then he ordered them all ashore. They begged the liberty of carrying their arms, goods, etc., with them, but he allowed them only their small arms and cartridge boxes. Then he brought the sloop alongside, put everything on board the ship, and sunk the sloop. Labarre and the rest begged to be taken on board. However, though he denied them, he suffered Labarre and some few to come, with whom he and his men drank plentifully. The negroes on board Lewis told him the French had a plot against him. He answered he could not withstand his destiny, for the devil told him in the great cabin he should be murdered that night. In the dead of the night the rest of the French came on board in canoes, got into the cabin, and killed Lewis. They fell on the crew, but after an hour and a half's dispute, the French were beaten off, and the quartermaster, John Cornelius, an Irishman, succeeded Lewis. He was the mildest mannered man that ever scuttled ship or cut a throat. With such true breeding of a gentleman, you never could discern his real thought. Pity he loved an adventurous life's variety, he was so great a loss to good society. End of chapter 19.